welcome to the Inspired Intentions podcast with Skyterra Wellness. If you've been too busy and not taking care of yourself, it's time to reset habits and plunge into your new normal. I'm here with Rachel today, and we are excited for this topic. It's February. Rachel, do you want to introduce our guest?
I do. Hi, Jeff.
Hey.
Happy early Valentine's Day.
No, I can't believe it's already here.
Couple more days.
Super exciting.
Are you prepared?
I always do a fantastic job of preparing, and if my wife says otherwise, she's lying.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, just in case you're not prepared, we're going to prepare you today.
Oh, I'm so glad to be a part of this.
Yes.
Because, it's been a big change in my life with a baby here. Maybe there's some things I need to do for my daughter on Valentine's Day too that I haven't been aware of.
You know who would know?
Who?
Our special guest.
Oh my gosh. All right.
So we're very excited to have Anne Johnston. She's the Guest Services Director at Skyterra. Hi, Anne.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much. I'm so excited. First podcast.
We're really excited to have you here. I would consider Anne to be an expert on gift giving and really thoughtful gift giving, and not necessarily what you might think of as traditional gifts, which I think are always the best gifts. But we were talking before the podcast, and Anne, what would you say is one of the greatest gifts you've ever received?
Well, that's tough. Can I share a story about what my niece and daughter did at Thanksgiving that was really thoughtful? Yeah. They painted all of these little rocks with inspiring words or little messages. Some of them even just said Asheville. And then we went around downtown and we went to a craft festival, and they hid them or they gifted them to different people. There was a baker who had a stand, and they definitely gifted the baker, and the baker in turn traded them.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It was so cute. It was so sweet.
Did you see anybody who happened to find one of those rocks? Did you see any reactions from people?
We didn't, but we retraced our steps, and we saw that they had been picked up or moved.
Oh, oh, that's really special.
It was sweet.
How old are your daughter and niece?
Sailor's 11. She's my daughter, and Molly is 12.
Oh, that's really special. I wanted to share, I got a really special gift a long time ago, actually, from my mom. When I turned 18, she had been, ever since I was born, just writing down things about my life, different interactions I'd had with people and relatives and things that had happened, and she had compiled it all into a notebook. And, of course, that didn't cost her anything other than probably hundreds and hundreds of hours of her time. But to this day, it's still the most special present that I've ever received. And I think a lot of times when people are thinking about gifts that they've gotten, it's not the expense. It's the thought that's been put into it. What about you, Jeff?
Well, man, I have received so many thoughtful gifts, and even working with Anne for quite a while now. She on staff, like if there's a birthday party, if there's a baby on the way, she is the first one to dive in and be thoughtful towards that team member. So I know we're going to get into some good stuff today. One of the gifts I remember just from before my wedding, my wife actually, she basically sent away some of my marathon medals. So there were races that we had done together, which were like the only races that we participated in, and they were really meaningful races, like the Boston Marathon and then like Indianapolis, close to where she's from. And so she actually picked out like 4 or 5 of my medals, or of her medals, excuse me. Yeah, this story gets better and better. 4 or 5 of her medals. And like if you're a runner, if you're someone who like is achievement oriented, it brings back a lot of memories when you just have kind of that tangible medal. And so she actually took her own medals, sent them away to a company, and she made a bracelet out of them.
Oh, wow.
And so on the day before our wedding, she actually gave me a custom bracelet with different pieces of those medals right around. And to this day, I just keep it. I don't wear it because it's so special. Like I never even thought like you could do something like that. And so I keep it just right in my nightstand. And it's always an incredible reminder of like how my wife is so thoughtful. Like, and I think that's the message with gift giving is like, let's start to forget about the expenses around it and be more mindful of like, wow, like it can be very impactful when there's meaning behind it.
I like that.
It's so true. Jeff, you remember your baby shower that we had at work? We made this fabric garland. Have you seen those where you tear just strips of fabric? And then when everyone tied them on, there was an intention or a baby blessing or a wish. And then there was a baby journal. And so people got to write their wishes and blessings in the journal. And that can be at every birthday party Mia ever has. You can bring that banner out. Or
just keep adding to it, huh?
All through the years, I gave you an extra long rope.
Oh, yeah.
So thoughtful, Anne.
Always thoughtful. Always thinking ahead, too, of like how the gift can keep going. Right. So I think that's interesting.
I love that. And Alan was just mentioning he's got a June birthday. My son has a summer birthday, and we planted a perennial garden. Ooh. So every year the flowers come up, and every year we add to it, and it also makes my yard pretty.
Oh my gosh. So the benefits are always there. One thing Alan, our executive producer, did for me. So Anne planned the baby reveal. And basically she bought some golf balls that like explode when you hit them.
Blue or pink.
I think everyone knew the sex except for Anne.
Me?
Yeah. So she still might be a little bitter if it comes out today. No worries, audience. We'll keep her in line. However, like it was super like out of the blue. Alan actually had made a print of a picture we had taken on that day. So it's super special. It hangs in our living room. And like when you know our executive producer, like making a print is probably pretty seamless for him. However, it was like the thought around it that was really special.
Knowing our executive producer, I'm sure he spent a lot of time making sure it was perfect.
Yeah, there was probably, if it wasn't, I never would have gotten a gift. Yeah, so it seemed to work out.
Okay, well, let's get into it, Anne. So, again, coming up on Valentine's Day, what would you say is the biggest thing you would love for people to start to think about?
Like you said, I think putting some thought and effort into a gift adds so much value, more than spending a lot of money. I would like people to think about the things that they care about, or think about the person they're going to give the gift to. If I could just lead into soul collage for just a minute.
Yeah, let's talk about soul collage, because that's really special.
It's a big hit with our guests, too.
It's so unique to our program. So what it is it's 5x8 cards, and we have tons of images and magazines that people can look through. And I ask our guests to do it without intent. There's, well, first of all, I'll go back. It's a thing. It's a real thing that I was certified in. Oh, can I go way back?
Please.
Go way back.
Down a rabbit hole.
Like, if you're certifiable, we want to hear about it.
We sure do.
So I worked for Sue years and years ago at a different program.
Sue Crowell.
Sue Crowell.
That's our owner audience,
Yes.
Sue Crowell.
Yes. And then I got married, had kids. I stopped working, but kept in touch. And she was kind, and she would hire me for odd jobs like party planning, things like that. Well, when they were creating Skyterra, they would practice at Sue's house, and I was the cook. And I'm not a chef, I'm just a mom, but I cooked for about 15 people, and it's an open kitchen living room area, so I got to watch it being developed. So I was a part of it then. And I had a friend who was certified in soul collage, and I would hire her for different support groups, and I actually hired her for the Skyterra practice, if you will. And it turned out really well, and it was really moving and really special. So throughout the years, I continued to take classes and hire the facilitator. And I finally, when I got the job at Skyterra, I said, if I love it so much, why don't I do it? So when I left my other job, I had a little mini break. I went and got certified, and then I came to Skyterra, and we started doing it pretty immediately.
So let's take another step back. Yeah. What is soul collage?
So they're 5x8 cards, and you just when we do it here, we just grab a pile of images that you like, or if it moves you in some way, even if it's dark, just like lean into it. So you start this little keep pile, and then I have these tools that I help people filter down with to collect the images that they're going to put on their card. So then we start putting images on the card, again, without any kind of intent.
And the images come from magazines?
Magazines, books. Oh, we have had guests. Can I name drop?
Of course.
Margie Sari brought me some beautiful books, and it feels so naughty pulling the images out of books, but there's nothing better than being repurposed for art. And then I bought a lot of beautiful books from the thrift shop that were just dusty on the shelves. But lots of magazines, lots of books. And then we start whittling it down and creating a collage. And then they go in a beautiful sleeve. So it's kind of like a craft. And then when it goes into the sleeve, it just turns into art.
What's the response you get from guests? So you have them go through this process, they whittle everything down. What are the most common things that you hear after a soul collage session?
Well, I don't want to ruin it, but there's also something we do at the end together. Mm-hmm. And I'm really careful to keep guests on time so that we can all have that time together. The things I hear them say, I almost always hear them say it was more than they thought it would be. Mm-hmm. And there's almost always some insight about even though you're not making the card for you or about you or for a reason, there's always something that comes out that's what you need, especially during that week at Skyterra. I mean, it's really pretty magical and profound how it just naturally happens that way.
That's really powerful, especially on like night one, you're at a wellness retreat, you don't know what to expect, and right away we're getting a little bit more internal.
And it creates community so quickly because we all just had this shared experience. And not to mention a tangible piece of art that you get to take home.
So, Anne, would you recommend that people do that as a gift for somebody else, or maybe gift the experience of soul collage for someone that they love?
Oh, I love that. Well, you can incorporate pictures in it. And often with, if someone's grieving, we can incorporate photographs and memories in it. I have my kids do it for their teachers and just grab images that remind them of their teachers. And then on the back of the card, they say why. And it's always darling and funny.
Your kids must get really good grades by the sound of things.
You should see their school projects.
Oh my gosh.
I am all in.
That's super fun.
And that's a really good point too, Anne, which is the Valentine's gift doesn't have to be for a partner or a spouse or girlfriend or a boyfriend. It can be for anybody that you love.
Or, I made a card, and it wasn't intentionally for this guest, but I left it on the porch of a guest last Thursday because I was looking at my cards and it just looked like her. And so I'm not going to name drop, but you know who you are. You're out there. So what I love about gift giving too is it doesn't always have to be on the holidays. Sometimes spontaneous gestures or notes or signs of affection on any given day speak volumes.
I like that.
That's a great point. Yeah. Like when you think of like how we receive things today, like no one's super excited about like a birthday email or something. Like it's more when it's like just tangibly sending a card to someone out of the blue can sometimes mean more than even like that special card on a holiday.
Jeff, I think you do a good job for our staff with that.
I try to. I mean, I think when you think of like building your team, there has to be care taken in knowing that like you are thoughtful towards your staff and that like you appreciate them. And that's kind of what gift giving is all about, is like you're showing appreciation. And we are in like a society where I think folks can feel underappreciated very easily. And that's where like some of these strategies today, and then thinking about how you could give it to someone who's not a loved one and how that could impact them. It's really exciting that all of us could switch things up and do it a little differently.
Mm-hmm. So, Anne, soul collage is one great example. What about some of the other things that we do at Skyterra in terms of craft projects that maybe someone could do on their own at home as a gift for somebody?
Well, Kathy's amazing. She's one of our yoga instructors who also does like an expressive art class once a week. We extended that class because it was so fun, right? And it was taking time. People didn't want to stop like their art. They needed more time to finish.
It's almost 90 minutes to a couple hours. And I think when you go to a retreat, it's like, oh, I didn't expect to do an arts class. What is this all about? However, like pros like Anne and Kathy, like Kathy rotates everything she does. So whether it's meditation stones, whether it's wind chimes has always been a popular one. Sun catchers, she's got a bunch of different things that could be very amazing gifts.
Mm-hmm. And it's self-care. Like I know soul collage, it sounds silly, but the cutting gives your brain a job, and it's also meditative. And looking through the images is meditative. And then with Kathy's, like the mandala rocks, for example, it's like a dotting process, but it's relaxing your mind. And then you go away with something really beautiful. Lindsay made a gorgeous one that's in Mia's nursery.
Oh, Lindsay, Jeff Ford's wife, Lindsay. Oh.
Mrs. Ford.
Awesome, Mrs. Ford. Yeah, I think what's great about those classes too and experiences is like guests get to take something tangible away again that they don't expect. So it's really cool that, man, even my wife's doing it.
Something kind of fun that you can do with the soul collage too is you're making this card, and then I haven't done it here, but in other places I'll have to give it to someone else in the room. So you don't keep yours.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So like you're not connected, even though you might love the artwork you made, but you're giving and getting a gift.
And these are people who haven't met before, correct?
Right.
I mean, in most cases, some of our guests who come back know each other, but that's such a powerful process.
You know what we did one time when the leaves were falling off that Japanese maple by the Culinary Center? We grabbed the leaves and put them on the back of the cards so everyone got to literally take Soul Collage home. Or literally take Skyterra home.
A piece of Skyterra.
A piece of Skyterra. Mm-hmm. Can I name drop again?
Man,
sure.
Go
Double
for it,
down.
Anne. You don't have to ask anymore, Anne. You just roll.
Our lovely Beth Bittaker loves her sister, again, Margie Sari, so much that she asked me to collect pine cones from Skyterra, and she took the pine cones and took seeds out of the pine cones and planted them so that Margie can have a piece of this property. And on the pot, she even cut out the burst from a folder and put the little burst on the clay pot. The pictures are on our Facebook page.
Oh, that's really neat.
Isn't that the neatest thing?
Who knew pine cones had seeds? That's incredible.
Alan.
I think all of us.
Of course, our executive producer, Alan, he knows everything. So, wow, I am learning. This is why we do the podcast.
I love the way that we incorporate Alan just here and there in the podcast, even though he doesn't have a mic.
Yeah, it's almost like he's an important person.
He's a pretty big deal.
So, Anne, if somebody isn't on the Skyterra campus and they wanted to create, for example, you were talking about the meditation stone, like the one that Lindsay made, how might they go about doing that at home? What would they need and what should they think about when they're creating?
Like what supplies do they need? Sure.
Yeah.
Some kind of acrylic paint and like the meditation stone, for example, a flat, dark colors work nicely.
Almost like the river rocks
like
that
the
you
flat
see.
river rocks, yes. But you can use anything. You could use a pencil eraser as a dotting tool, but those are made with small circles. So anything you could use, I'm sure a pen tip for a small, but anything that's routine, the same size. And it just goes around and around. But yeah, that's kind of fun because you can use just the things you have around your house.
Sure. If you have craft supplies around your house. Like I'm
Some
sure you do.
don't.
I'm sure I'm going to have a lot more craft supplies in my future. I mean, at least after 6 months, I would assume. Maybe longer. Yeah. So when we think about like the gift giving, how do you ensure that the gift is thoughtful? Could you inform our listeners of like we've got the supplies at home, we've got some different opportunities, we can even go out and get some affordable supplies. How do you ensure that it's thoughtful?
Timing is one way, like when and how you give the gift, whether you want it to be a surprise, like just leaving it in somebody's car or on their porch, or if it's at a special place that you remember something meaningful happening, like where you first met or, a sunset that you saw together. Those kinds of timing things can make it really thoughtful and special. Even just the littlest things, like I thought of you because I know you like blue, so I found something blue. Reminding people of those little memories and those little things that you took note of, I think, really show some thoughtfulness.
So it's like the things you know about the people in your life by pairing a gift that relates to what you know about them that others might not know about them can make it very thoughtful.
Yeah, or even someone you don't know that well, like our guest, at Skyterra, there could still be something that reminds you of like this just made me think of you. I don't know why. We've only known each other a few days, but...
Yeah, everybody likes to be thought of and listened to.
And seen.
Yeah. Yeah. What about do you have any other homemade gift ideas?
I love this one. I have done it for the kids, and it's a UR jar. And all this it's a mason jar with paper, and you can use pretty paper if you have it, but regular white paper is fine. But you are kind. You are beautiful. You are thoughtful. And, they can pull little things out whenever they want. I know I have a teenager, and sometimes he says things like, you don't care about me. And I'm like, go look at your jar.
Great strategy.
That's been around for a while. I love you. Little things like that. Or I'll say, aren't you glad I don't believe you?
Oh, wow.
But again, that's something you can add to. You can keep adding to the jar.
That's really special. One thing that I've seen, I had a friend who did a year's worth of date nights for her husband. It was one a month, and she had gone out and just planned, and nothing was really that extravagant, but it was, an evening of mini golf and dinner at a restaurant that they like nearby. And it just, first of all, made sure that they got out of the house with the kids. gave them time for themselves. But it also, again, it was the thought that she put into of, these are things that I know that you would like or that we would like to do together.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the 5 love languages, acts of service. And one that I think is really cool is taking a class together, like learning something new together. I guess when guests come here sometimes as couples, they're doing something new together,
Exactly.
Acts of service. The 5 love languages. So there's words of affirmation, people who need to hear
that you love them.
That you love them. There is gifts, which I think is less about the gifts, but more about the thought. I love you and I was thinking about you. Acts of service, which we just talked about. Quality time. So some people just really want time, and that could be even going to a movie. It doesn't have to be time that you spend eye to eye talking.
Staring at each other.
Yes, deep thoughts. And physical touch. But that goes beyond, that could be even dancing or a massage.
So there's like a lot of opportunity within those love languages. What, in your experience, what's your love language?
Oh my gosh.
You might have multiple.
I was going to say all of them.
I would say all of them.
Yeah. Isn't with love languages, there's usually like your primary and then like a secondary?
Probably.
Yeah.
And I think it's more about being aware of whoever you're loving, what theirs is.
Ooh.
Because we think, like, let's say if yours is words of affirmation and that's what you need, someone else, you could be giving them all of your words of affirmation, but that's not exactly what they need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like physical touch for me, that's a tough one. Like that's not my love language. So like can make those when you're meeting someone or you're seeing someone again somewhat awkward.
Yep.
So I think, we all it's important to put ourselves in the shoes of the individual we're trying to be thoughtful towards.
Right. Mm-hmm. I have a story about my dad. I spent a week at home with my parents, and I grew up in a very small town, and I was driving around with my dad, and he was giving me directions. Turn right here, turn left here, and I spent all of my childhood in this small town, and I knew exactly where I was going. And when I got home, I said to my mom, just as a joke, Dad was trying to tell me how to get to the grocery store, and she's like, "That's how he lets you know that he loves you. It's the acts of service. He's doing something for you." And then I thought back to, that morning he had made me breakfast and then he had made me lunch.
Wow.
So, I think to your point, if you're thinking about the person that you're gifting, finding out to them what to them means, what their love language is, where they get that from.
My dad always, Happy Valentine's Day, Dad. My dad always tells this story. He was living in an apartment right on the beach in Virginia Beach, up high, and he was sick, and I had gone to visit him. I probably brought him some soup or something. But then I left, and I wrote in the sand I took a big stick and wrote, "Get well soon," really big, and then I just called him and I said, "Look out your window." But he tells that story all the time.
And you are so thoughtful.
It was a stick, Rachel.
That's so cool too. And I think that's a great example of like, you do not have to go and buy something.
Right.
You can actually just think through it. And that related to Anne's point earlier of like timing. And so the timing was probably the most important part of that delivery. So it's like being very thoughtful about the delivery of it can almost coin the experience where someone does talk about it for decades.
Memories, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. What else, Anne? Any other homemade gifts that you have up your sleeve?
Oh, gosh. I love, flowers. I do love flowers. And so especially if there's some that you've grown or collected, wildflowers are beautiful on a hike. I love jewelry. Stretchy bracelets. My daughter makes these lava rock bracelets. We had a guest who bought 10.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
Sailor's crushing it in the gift shop.
But you can put essential oils on the lava rocks, and so they'll absorb, and the different oils can do things like calm you down or wake you up. So, and then the stones that are on there all have their own healing properties too. And so these kits, you can get them on Amazon, very inexpensive. Takes no time. It's just a stretchy band, but they're also pretty.
And what is that called?
I would say lava rock.
Lava rock?
Lava rock.
Stretchy bracelet?
You can get a bead kit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really neat.
Mm-hmm. And meditative. Beading is also meditative.
And thoughtful.
All of it.
And Jeff, I actually got this idea from your wife, Lindsay, is framing something really special. So I believe Lindsay has a special recipe framed.
Oh, yes, from her grandfather.
Okay.
Yeah, and it actually sits out, and I'm always like, man, what? And then she told me the story about it. Do you know the story?
Why don't you share it?
Well, basically, she always used to, when she went to her grandparents' house, would have, I believe it's chili. I can't believe I'm quoting this on the air. Hopefully it's chili. But I believe it was chili, and her grandfather would always make it. And what was wild about that is it's her framing an experience that she had with that person. So I think that's like another great example of like you're just taking, and it's just a handwritten recipe. So it's like just, lined paper, handwritten, and then there's a decent frame around it. And she keeps that out. And I think it creates that memory just in the home for her, where she can be walking around a home that's different than where she grew up in and literally think of someone who's so special to her.
Yeah, that is special.
I think family recipes are a really thoughtful gift.
Mm-hmm.
Or cooking together.
Yeah.
Cooking together for sure as a family is an act of, or what is it? Act of service, like a way to
quality time, maybe.
Time. Yeah, or both.
Or both.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when the guests make hike bites and then send Michael a picture.
Tell us about hike bites, Anne.
Oh,
that's a great opportunity. Yeah.
Dried fruit and nuts, and sometimes things like dark chocolate or coconut, in the blender.
In this recipe,
or food processor.
This recipe is on skyterra@home.com.
There's a few versions
as
well, so you could
I actually prefer the version that is hike bite crust.
Oh yeah. You can make it into a crust, and I think there's a recipe for a cheesecake.
Yes.
Like a non-dairy cheesecake that's good for you. And we give the hike bites to guests after every hike for energy. But it's like one of our most beloved snacks.
So the guests will make them at home and send a picture to our executive chef,
Michael Vess. Yes, and that's kind of a gift. It's just a cute thank you. Like I learned something, or I'm taking it with me, or I'm still eating well and healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're taking like the skills and putting them to practice. So anytime we receive like notification, email, or a picture of a guest doing something like that at home, it is really powerful. And I don't know if all of our guests know that, but definitely some awesome shout outs today.
We had more name dropping. We had a guest, Vicky Bush, who made these little almond butter chocolate, almost like bonbons with Michael, and gave them to everybody at dinner. So that was like a gift for everybody. She was very thoughtful and excited to share them, and they were delicious and amazing.
That's really special.
Yeah, Vicky actually is really thoughtful. She purchased voodoo floss for our entire facility. So we have like 15 rolls of voodoo floss because of her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
thanks, Vicky.
And we obviously talk about voodoo floss in different episodes, and it's just one of those like things you don't think about. And she knew that we always run low and we like to help guests with pain whenever we can. And literally, she has helped us out.
Thanks, Vicky.
I think we got to give a shout out to Diana Wynn also when she purchased all the medals for the Skyterra Fitness Games.
Yeah, we do the Skyterra Fitness Games a few times a year, and literally she bought first in show ribbons and uplifted like the experience in general. So there's definitely, we have the opportunity to be around thoughtfulness like all the time. So it's a super special place.
And I think too, when people are at Skyterra and they're kind of thinking about everything and just simplifying their lives, it becomes a lot easier in that space to start to think about everybody else because you're so grateful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you're giving yourself that chance to reset, that chance to really focus on what your path is going to be forward, but then also how you can spend your time differently with your loved ones.
Well, you know how they say, like, put your oxygen mask on first.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're doing that self-care, you don't have to worry so much. Your mind does open up to think about others because you are taking care of yourself.
Yeah. Once you take care of yourself first, then you can take care of other people.
Put your mask on first.
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
One gift that I have gotten a lot that I really enjoy is whenever somebody gives me a book as a gift, when they write a little note on the inside. And sometimes when they've given me a book and there's no note in there, I will actually ask them, hey, thank you so much for this book. Will you just write me a little note?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's super cool. I love books.
I know you do, Jeff.
So I'm definitely on that bandwagon.
And books are kind of nice to display. It's almost like they're pretty, but it says a little bit about you.
Yeah. Yeah. And for that, like achiever and like the achievers, they just love to see what they've done. So it depends on the personality, where different gifts, I think, apply to different personality types as well.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. What else, Anne? Anything else we should be thinking about as we lead up to Valentine's Day?
I love gifts that show some thought from the past, like almost like Mia's baby journal, that grow with the person. So anything that you can add to, whether it be a string of beads or like the fabric garland or a journal or even like a card that you're going to give someone, but you get it a few months before and just start writing down thoughts that you have about the person and dated. I just think it says, I didn't buy this for you yesterday. Or, like
on my way home.
That's a really important point, Anne, because it's like when you buy a gift card, for instance, and you give a gift card to someone, it's so impersonal. And it almost like it's something that I get it. Like everybody's busy. It's hard to find the right thing for someone. However, like we should all reflect on ourselves and see, man, like could we just take that extra 5 minutes to think about something that could be long lasting? Like it's almost like even like a restaurant gift card or something. They may get an experience that they remember forever. So that's a different way of looking at it. However, like with the example of the journal, man, that's something they're going to be able to contribute to day after day.
Really great ideas.
Yeah. And what would you remind our listeners? Say someone's tight on a budget, like if there's like one key thing that you want folks to understand this Valentine's Day and just in being more thoughtful in the future, what's one other thing they should really think about?
There's so many ways to say I love you. I just think to remember to make it as personal as you can and to share your why. Like you were mentioning gift cards. Let's say it is a gift card to a restaurant, but the reason why I chose this restaurant is because I know you like this, or we first met here. Those kind of things. Just adding as much detail that you can that shows how you thought about it and what you hope, what it means to you and what you hope they'll love about it.
And it goes back to the thought too, that you've been thinking about this person, you see them, you've heard them, and that's the thought behind this gift. It's not just, to Jeff's point, not just here's $50.
And I think like not standing there waiting for gratitude, just saying, here, take this, I love you. You don't have to reciprocate immediately or tell me how much you love it. Just enjoy it and be with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So and it's like give the gift without an expectation of their reaction in mind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes we feel like we should give someone a gift, so we give it to them. However, it should be more coming from that place of like, wow, this really seems like something that would move this person and something that they need right now.
And that's why surprises can be nice.
Mm-hmm. I love surprises.
Oh, surprise gifts are the best.
Oh, man. Was that going around when you guys were in high school, college? Like literally it was like this competition for everybody to do a surprise party for individuals' birthdays.
Really?
Yeah. And it was like everyone was trying to like one up the last party. And it was super funny. And I just remember my group of friends literally for 2 years straight, it was just surprise party.
Did you have a surprise party?
I did. Yeah.
Were you
it was
surprised?
nuts. I was super surprised. So I had this best friend. And literally, we were always at each other's houses. Like our parents started to question. We were like, we do sleepovers during the week. It got really intense where we just really liked hanging out with one another. And he invited me over, and we went up to the top of like his attic where we all used to hang out. And all like literally 30 people had to jump out from like under beds, behind couches. It was super intense. Like your heart rate jumps with a good surprise. Yeah. And then I received like really expensive golf clubs.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a big golfer back in the day.
You have good friends.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was cool because I think it wasn't, the intention wasn't that everybody deserved the surprise, only that like, man, after we had done the first one, it almost feeds you wanting to do more. And I think that's what listeners should remember is if you're not a natural gift giver, you're not natural at the thoughtfulness. I know that like Anne specifically not only has training in it, but she's practice and practice and practice. And so I think it'll start to come to you a little more naturally once you just start trying to think about gifts differently.
I like that.
Me too.
Okay, so let's wrap this up for us, Anne. So to summarize, the gift can be for anybody who's special in your life, anybody that you love. Doesn't necessarily have to be on Valentine's Day. You gave us some really great examples of gifts that you don't have to spend money for, just your time. Some of those were the soul collage, of course, which you could make into a card, the meditation stone, framing something that's really special.
Sailor's bracelets.
Sailor's bracelets, that's right.
Or the UR jar.
The UR jar.
That's a good one to remember.
Yeah. A planting of a place that's really special to you, like the pine cones from Skyterra. Mm-hmm. And then the love languages, thinking about the person that you're giving the gift to, making sure that you're speaking to them in their love language, what you know is most important to them. The words of affirmation, gifts, acts of service, quality time, physical touch. And being thoughtful, surprising people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was like a throw-in.
Yeah.
Lots of opportunity this Valentine's Day and beyond.
Or any day.
Or any day. Anything else you want to add, Anne?
No, just have a happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, Anne and Jeff.
Thank you.
And to everybody that we mentioned, everybody out there, happy Valentine's Day. Okay, everybody. So this has been the Inspired Intentions podcast from Skyterra Wellness. Special thanks to our executive producer, Alan Broyhill. Happy Valentine's Day, Alan. Send us questions and comments to inspiredintentions@skyterrawellness.com. Rate us 5 stars on iTunes.
And if you're not going to give us a 5-star review, just refrain.
Keep
from
it to
giving
yourself.
A review. Yeah, you can just not do a review.
It's not thoughtful.
And then please join us next week as we cut through the unrealistic noise on diets and fitness and show you how healthy living fits seamlessly into your already busy life. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, Anne.
Sure. Bye.
Bye.